you aware that you are under surveillance? Surveillance by corporations, by governments, your own government, or maybe some other government. The last 20 years, as we all know, has changed the complete landscape of communications with the advent of social media. But are we aware what are the dangers of social media? Are we aware how much of our data is stored with these entities I just mentioned? And are you aware that every tweet, every video you watch, every message you send, every message you read, like, or share with your friends on any of the social media apps is a ground for the upcoming or the ongoing social media Cold War? This Cold War is much more dangerous, much more in your face. It's going to affect you much more than any other battle that is going on right now in the world. And trust me, there are many battles going on, including kinetic ones. This is Samit. Welcome back to TalksonGround. You know when this battle started? It started in 2005, and the first salvo was fired by China, the People's Republic of China, the world's factory house right now. They banned Google, almost all of its services from most of their economy. Of course, Google does have access to some of China, some of its apps are allowed for some people, but most of their services are off limits for common citizens. So what you and I can do, the Chinese does it on Weibo, Baidu, Snapchat, and more. Not only did they ban social media, including Google at that time, they also banned the Chinese from really interacting with anyone else around the world or within China using any of the apps that were not built in China. Hey, then the West got back, not at China, but someone else. That was the Arab Spring of 2010 and 11. So I'm just mentioning some of the key events related to social media over the years. So the first, as I mentioned, was the China ban on Google. And the second is the use of Twitter and Facebook by the United States of America to infuriate, to instill a protest in many Arab states. And they were able to overthrow certain governments, whom they called monarchs. Now that was done with a lot of data analysis, knowing whom to ban, whom to enhance, whom to, which message can be sent to which group of people, what messages would incite a protest, which messages can incite violence. And this was just the start of it. And many governments were not really prepared for something like this. Even in India, I think the India Against Corruption movement started around the same time. You have to call it a movement which was fueled primarily on Facebook and Twitter. So that was the second aspect of this social media Cold War. Moving forward, what happened is that after this Arab Spring success and some failures, there was the advent of each of these apps becoming center of excellence for something. For instance, Facebook became the center for connections. Apple became the center for privacy, encrypted messages, and so on. And it had its own running battles in its own country, the US, over access to encrypted messages. Now, the fact is that around the same time, as in 2012-13 period, there's an app that got developed, and that was called Telegram. Now, Telegram was not US owned, it was not US funded, and its technology was owned by a private individual. And the Telegram app took the world by storm and started competing against WhatsApp, which was the singular free messaging app that was used at that time and still is by everyone that at least I knew, and I'm sure everyone that you knew, and surely at least 10% of world's population was using it back then. However, the governments around the world woke up to this challenge and started restricting access, just like China had in 2005. For instance, Brazil has banned X recently. India banned TikTok, I think about 4 years back, in the wake of the India-China battle in Ladakh. And Russia banned Facebook and Instagram. And many other governments started restricting its usage in certain areas because they knew it could be used for inciting violence or inciting protest, the minimum. Remember, Telegram, because it was not owned by the group of people who own the other social media, was a welcome tool for people who wanted to evade detection and evade getting caught up with government surveillance, because it had this option of end-to-end encryption and privacy. And it was a very smart app at its time. So now that I've mentioned to you about uh, the China ban, the advent of Facebook, Twitter as a tool for inciting protest and for basically bringing down governments in the Middle East, and then the evolution of social media companies specializing in a certain area. For instance, Apple became the go-to device for people who wanted some security or enhanced security and paid a premium for it. By this time, as I mentioned, the governments had woken up, and so had citizens. Some citizens wanted more security, some wanted more security from the government, looking into what they were saying to their friends or colleagues or whoever. So there were two schools. One was looking for open access, the other was looking for secure access. And this then went on with other countries also joining in and banning certain social media apps, including Iran, including Nigeria, and including a lot of others. And recently, TikTok, US has restricted some of its access to the market, and India has restricted a lot of the apps from China. Now, who are the players in this? What I started by saying, it's a social media Cold War. Now, why is it a Cold War? Because it's not a hot war. There are no weapons of mass destruction. This is about information flow. It is about access. It is about security. But it's not a battle which is being fought openly. It is being fought in Supreme Courts, in policy amongst policymakers, amongst ministers, in big meetings like G20s and the Nations. Now, the key battle that is being fought now is really in the United States of America. The US elections are going to be held on the 5th of November 2024. Now, Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter now, and now called X, has supported Trump openly, and he's appearing with him in different states. Now, remember when 2020 elections were held, in which Trump was defeated by Biden, Twitter had banned Trump. I mean, imagine a US president was banned from a platform. Really courageous, I must say. They must have known Trump will lose, but whatever. So he's back on that platform. At least his account is. And there is a clear change in the way Twitter is being used now. And Brazil, which had an election recently, has decided to ban Twitter because they are worried about, again, the same thing. The platform being used to incite protest against the regime, and then having some instability of the regime, or maybe just getting ousted. So what are the issues at play here? The issues at play are: number one, security. Are your messages, are your videos, are your interactions with your friends, family, colleagues safe and secure? Number one. Number two, are you able to access these media apps, or is your country banning them? Is your company banning them? Is your family banning them? Is your community banning them? Because we have instances of all of these. So there could be families who say, oh, we won't use Facebook. There are countries that say we won't use Google. There are various kinds of restrictions when it comes to corporates. Obviously, they don't want you to be, uh, you know, looking at dating profiles on Tinder. So all of this is happening, and the issues that are being really debated are privacy and security. So these are the so it's a battle between your privacy and your security. And the problem is that in the last 15 to 18 years, whatever be that time span, we have become so used to waking up with good morning messages on WhatsApp. We have become used to using YouTube as our go to source for information. We have become so used to going to Twitter to see some breaking news and look at news from a different angle, look at all the videos that mainstream media will not show. Now, once we have done that, now what the companies are doing is uh, they are charging us fees for premium access. And secondly, governments are starting to look how to control it. So this is a battle between corporations on the one hand, governments on the other, a set of governments like the West versus say Russia, China, and Iran on the other hand. And India is squished in between as usual. So we are neither here nor there. But I must say that in all of this, I see a danger. And the danger is that we have in the last 15 years bared our souls to these apps. Every little thing that you've done in your life is out there somewhere on these apps. As they say, if you put something on the internet, it stays on the internet. It is never deleted. Somewhere, someplace in some server, it'll be there. So that begs a question: are we all heading towards what China is facing right now? During COVID, every Chinese had on his phone an app which showed whether he could step out of his house, whether he could go to the mall, whether he could buy groceries, whether he was allowed to go anywhere. And now they're stepping it up. They're saying that, we are going to keep a score of your behavior. Do you cross traffic lights? Do you jump traffic lights? Are you violent? Do you abuse people on your phone, using your phone maybe amongst friends or whatever? Do you follow government orders? Do you pay taxes? So overall, this is a battle which is going to lead to some sort of a friction between citizens and the government, because ultimately that one government which owns the key apps will own everyone's data. They will know pretty much everything about you. You might have sent a very flirty message to some woman in 5 years back when you were in a relationship, and that might have been after a couple of drinks, but that data will be there somewhere, and it can come back to bite you in the ass, even if it meant nothing to you. So, if you know what I'm saying, this is a very, very critical issue. And as the kinetic wars get uh, more intense and more widespread, as we have seen with Israel and Hamas and with Russia and Ukraine, we are heading to a time when technology and technology companies, especially the consumer facing ones like the social media apps I'm talking about, they will become the battleground. And with the banning of uh, X in Brazil and the arrest of Pavel Dupont, the founder of Telegram, he was arrested in France by President Macron, and he has been charged with a lot of crimes and so on. And this is just the start, because tomorrow some other country can arrest owner of some other social media app and charge him with something else. Now, I'm not saying I have the legal knowledge to understand what he was charged under. Are they correct or are they incorrect, or whether they'll stand the scrutiny of the court? But you and I know that these things are not done in isolation, and neither are they done um, casually. This is thought out, maybe a result of the Russia-Ukraine war. So France or maybe the West wants to, have control over what they think as an is the app which is allowing Russia to fuel their propaganda, because Telegram has been accused of, uh, being a playground for all kinds of criminals. And some of that might be true. But then, can you argue that the other apps are not being used by some very bad guys? So that's a question I cannot answer. So the point is, what do you think? Uh, where do you stand on this? Are you more for privacy or are you more for security? If you're more for privacy, then surely you would not want to support the ban that or the arrest that France has made. So you would oppose both the ban by Brazil and the arrest by France. On the other hand, if you are more on the security side, then you will probably be supporting both. Now, the funny thing is, both those sides are on the opposite ends of the geopolitical game. So it's funny. So whether you choose privacy or security, you're going to support both sides. So that's food for thought. And let me know what you think. It's an issue, I think, which will develop into a major issue next year. Basis what I've seen this year, and two of these instances I've already shared. And let me know if you liked this video. If you watched other videos on my channel, please subscribe, like, share this video with your friends and family. For now, good night. Bye bye.